Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. It's the follow-up a year after I Know What You Did Last Summer. It came out in 1998. Personally, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's a really good slasher movie. A lot of people did not like this and it bombed at the box office with negative reviews. Why? Because people said the plot was predictable. It felt just like a slasher movie. It didn't feel like the first one. And some things were a little hokey. Yeah, that is true. It doesn't feel like the first one. It's basically just a slasher. There's new characters. Some of the characters are very annoying. And there's a weird plot that happens. But all in all, it is a good slasher movie. That is what it is. It is a slasher movie. The first movie was more of a drama with a slasher in it. And so with this one, with the sequel, they just decided to go all out with the slasher stuff. And it was really done like well. It felt like a typical 80s 90s, 80s like slasher movie. So what was the freaking problem and everything? I don't understand why people get so pissy about that. I think one reason why so many girls didn't like this because Freddie Prinze Jr. was barely in this movie, but he was barely in the first. See, after the first movie, his career skyrocketed. He became a heartthrob. He did tons of teen like love movies, romance movies, and with him barely being in the movie, they got kind of pissy about that. Also, there is a weird plot where they go on location. And it's kind of like things just kind of like happen and they don't realize nobody's smart enough to figure it out. Also, the new characters are not likable whatsoever. So that kind of weighs down the movie, especially Jack Black's character, man. Like, Lord have mercy. And it's a plot that involves Ben Willis' extended family that just kind of gets kind of weird and lost in translation. But all in all, it is a good slasher movie. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I don't really truly 100% like about it is Brandy. I don't like Brandy, period. I don't like her acting. I don't like her singing. Now, I do like Moesha. Moesha was a good show. But I don't like Brandy. And, yeah. I do like how this movie portrayed Julie because it's very similar in a way to Sydney in the sequel to in Scream 2. So it's like Julie is paranoid because of the events of what happened last summer. She knows Ben Willis might still be alive and everything because they have never found his body. So she's in college. She's still dating Ray, but she's in college in a different town. And so she's trying to move on with her life, but she's terrified. Like, she's still having nightmares of like Ben Willis always busting through like something and trying to get her. Like when the last movie she was in the shower and he busted through like the window and stuff. She's at a church and she's confessing to like the pastor about what they did last summer, and then here he is, he's the pastor and he's trying to like hook her and everything. So I like how paranoid she is. She's so paranoid that she doesn't give people out her number. Nobody knows exactly where she lives at for the most part. Like she lives in an apartment, but well, I don't know if she lives in a dorm or she lives in an apartment. That's kind of a little fuzzy, but she even sleeps with a knife underneath her pillow and stuff. And she doesn't like going out places. Like, she is terrified. But it's kind of like sometimes she kind of overdoes it with the screaming, like when she wakes up from a nightmare. Because they really want her to scream in this movie. So it's kind of like she's over paranoid, but you get why. Because of what happened, you know. And plus, you know, if the police find out that they've been lying this whole time and and it's a hit and run, they're going to be in trouble, you know what I'm saying? And plus, there's a stalker dude after them. The fisherman and stuff. So, like, she's freaking out. Her friend Will, he's really close to her. He likes her and stuff. So, but she still dates Ray, so she's not gonna like dip her toes in that honey pot. You know what I'm saying? And so her friend Carla is just like a loose cannon type person. Does what she wants. Very ambitious, very outgoing. She tries to get Julie to like loosen up, but Julie doesn't want to. What's her name? Carla doesn't like Ray. Carla is the who Brandy plays, who I just don't like. I did not like this character at all. Now, one good thing about the sequel is that they finally brought in people of color. There are two black people. Macaulay Pfeiffer, that's who he is. I got him confused with the other dude from Scream 2. Anyway, so yeah, they finally brought in some black folks into like this movie, and there's plenty of people of color in this. Because why? The first movie was nothing but white folks, except for one black girl who had a teeny tiny role to play like the best friend and stuff. And that's it. Same problem they had with Scream. There was just too many white folks. So they're trying to like improve. So that was a good thing. I just wish they didn't pick Brandy. So basically, Julia just sees Ben Willis everywhere, closes her eyes, sees him at the club, but he's not really there. So she is super paranoid, like she just can't shake him, right? So her and Ray, they get kind of into like an argument because he wants to spend the summer with her back at their hometown. She doesn't want to go there. She hasn't really been back home in for like ever, you know what I'm saying? So let's see if this. So she's to be like a sophomore now in college, and so she hasn't been home since like last summer, and she just doesn't want to go home, and he's upset about that. She's all like, "Why don't you spend the Fourth of July with me here and all this other stuff?" He's all like, "I can't. I have a boat back in town. I have. He's still a fisherman. You know what I'm saying? He's unable like to go to college and stuff." And so then she says something which really upsets him because he thinks that she just wants to spend time with all her fancy little rich looking friends and not be around like this poor little Croker town and everything. And so, cause Croker pageant is what the thing is called, like that Helen was in like the last movie. So he walks and storms off. Plus he's jealous of Will and stuff. So anyways, at some point, the next day after the club and everything, where she freaks out because Carla is trying to put Will onto Julie, but because she don't like Ray and everything. So like this pisses off Julie. So she leaves and everything, and the next morning they listen to the radio. And this is the part that gets a little hokey and everything. Like the whole radio thing and the contest and the hotel thing is so hokey. It just how did nobody not figure this out? How did this happen? Like that was the bad writing of the movie. So I understand criticism for that. 'Cause that part makes no sense. So anyway, there's a radio dude. He's having a contest. And so they call and he called yeah, something about like he calls them and and so they have to answer the question. They don't know the answer. And Carla, dumb as she is, thinks she knows the answer and tells Julie, and Julie just goes with it. And so it's the wrong answer, by the way. But he's all like, "You won, and you're gonna have like 4 like tickets and everything to go and stay at like a hotel in Florida and blah 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 and all this other stuff, right?" And so like they're happy, they're excited. She asks Ray, but he gets pissed and is all like, "Oh, you can go to a fancy trip in the Bahamas." No, no, it wasn't Florida. Never mind, my bad. It's in the Bahamas. You can go to a fancy trip in the Bahamas, but you can't like, hang out with me back in the hometown and stuff. So he doesn't want to go. So Carla invites Will. This pisses off Julie. Anyways, they're at the hotel, and this is the other part that gets kind of wonky. How did this all get set up? Anyway, so they're there. We meet Jack Black's white Jamaican character. Lord have, he was funny, but it was so unnecessary. And we meet all these other characters that are just like over the top with fake accents, and they're pretending to be like Jamaican and stuff. And it's so annoying. Like these new characters are annoying. And so they get to the hotel clerk dude, Jeffrey Combs. You might know him from like everything. He's so rude and mean to them and everything. So they clash back and forth with him and all kind of stuff. Tyrell is Carla's boyfriend. He's super horny and he's super grumpy, but he's cool at the same time. And so, and Will is just like Julie's friend. So while they're there, they're hanging out, they're having good times and everything. he's constantly trying to like Tyrell is constantly trying to get into like Carla's pants and everything, while Will is trying to be like the rebound dude. And so like, but it's not working. But at some point, it is starting to work on Julie. She's getting to the point where Ray don't want her. She's kind of wants the other person. Speaking of Ray, he's driving along with a friend. He wants to surprise Julie at the Bahamas because his friend convinces him he has an engagement ring. He wants to marry her. As they're driving, hanging out, I think they're singing to Van Halen. I think they see a guy on the middle of the road having car trouble. So his friend tries to stop and wants to go help him. Ray's all like, "No, man, you can't," because he know that's how Helen, the cop died with Helen and stuff. Now this is a little too on the nose of what happened in the last movie. Why would Ray suspect it's the same person? You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of weird, but like whatever. So of course, who is it? It's Ben Willis. He kills his friend. He chases Ray with the truck. He runs him off the road. He's injured, and he spends the majority of the episode, the first part, in the hospital. When he wakes up, the cops don't believe his story. The doctor don't believe his story. Well, the doctor tells him that it's a fisherman with a hook, Ben Willis. The cops don't believe him. They go to check on him. He is now gone from the hospital. Jumped out the window, everything. Because he knows Julie life's in danger, so he has to find his way to like the Bahamas. It's just weird. Like it's a good movie when it gets to the slashery stuff, but just the setup is just it rushes everything. The setup is bad. The setup is very very bad. So basically it's like this. And so as he's like on the bus and everything and on a boat trying to get to the Bahamas, we have he takes the boat all the way from there to the Bahamas. Look, okay, whatever. Basically what happens is this. The shenanigans happen at the hotel. Then Willis somehow has made it there lightning fast, and now he's on a killing spree. Julie finds out. She's freaking out. She's telling the friends. They don't necessarily believe her until they start seeing dead bodies pop up everywhere. Now they believe her and they're pissed. She tells them what happened last summer, how they lied, and now they're even more pissed at her. Ben Willis is just going on a killing spree, killing everybody at the hotel. But there's not that many people at the hotel. Why? It's hurricane season. So everybody has left except for the staff and Julie and her friends. It should have been written better than that. It really should, because we saw tons of people there when they get there. Now all them tons of people have left. They should have just said it's a crappy hotel and nobody really goes there, and that's where he kills our people. That's what they should have did, but they didn't. They kind of it's a different writer for this movie, a different director. I give them props for trying, but they kind of failed. Like I do love this movie. It wasn't planned out better. They should have planned it so much better. So in a way, basically what happens is like, there's this guy who works there and they think he's like all like into voodoo, which he is, but he's doing a protection thing for them. They think he's trying to kill them. They think he's the killer. He's an old man. He reveals to them that you got the answer wrong to your question, and stuff. Like, cause they wanted to name the capital of Colombia or something like that. And, or the capital of Brazil. It's the capital of Brazil. It was the capital of some country. And so Julie's all like, well, Jesus Christ, we got the question wrong. And cause Ben Willis set this whole thing up. Okay, let's just jump through to the end, right? This is what happened. Ben Willis, the man with the hook on his hand, the fisherman, set up this huge elaborate trap to get Julie and to get Ray on an island that's basically deserted in a hotel. The hotel is someplace he used to work at many years ago when he had his kids. He killed his wife at the hotel and everything. He was a very abusive father. This is the part that don't make no sense. He has a son and he has a daughter. We knew he had a daughter from the first movie, but the son we never knew about. This just got tacked on. We never see the son in the first movie. And he's around the same age as Julie. Now, why? Because he's Will. He tells her, like, you couldn't figure it out, Julie? My name is Will Benson. Ben's son. Okay, we never knew his last name, so we couldn't put the two things together. So he just changed his name around. But it's just so dumb. Will was the guy who called on the radio. And so this don't make no sense. They listened to the actual radio. How did he get on the radio and make a huge broadcast that only they could hear in their room? That makes no sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. Like, how was he able to get on the radio and only they could hear it? You know what I'm saying? And who paid for this trip? They paid for the airfare. They paid for them to stay in the rooms. How did the hotel people not know this was like a ruse? See, this is the part that's really hokey and stupid and dumb. And I get the criticism for that. Now, all the chasing towards the end and the killings and all this other stuff, that was really cool. I really love that. That was the really good, like, slasher element of it that saved this movie. That's the only thing that saved this movie from me was the slashery stuff towards the end and the chasing. And it was just so climactic. It kept building your blood pressure. Like, you just kept, like, oh my God, like, what's going to happen next? And what's going to happen next? And what's going to happen next? So then, you know, like, Will and Ray, they duke it out, like fisticuffs and everything, but Will ends up getting the upper hand on them. Julie ends up shooting. Well, Ben tries to kill Ray, but then he jumps out the way and he stabs his own son and kills him. Then Julie shoots Ben Willis to death and he falls in like the grave that he made for Julie. So then, you know, they thought Carla was dead. I thought she was dead too. I was hoping she was dead, but no, she's alive. So now there's 3 survivors and they keep the secret and don't tell the cops what happened. Then, you know, we get like some couple of months later, Julie and Ray have now married. They got a home together. And so she's still dreaming because Ben Willis is underneath the bed and he grabs her and she screams. It's the same thing like the first movie, the dream sequence. However, with the third movie decided since the second movie didn't do so good at the box office, with the third movie, they decided, okay, scrap that, but let's keep that. Let's pretend that he really was underneath the bed and he did kill her. Why? Because now they turned Ben Willis from a man into a zombie demon thing. Yeah. But all in all, like I said before, I do like the second movie. Towards the middle end, it got really good, like a good slasher. The only problem with I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is that the whole contest, like hotel thing, was too elaborate and it was not planned out very well. It was not written very well. The new characters are just all over the place. Like, you don't really like them. The old man is kind of cool. The bartender's all right, I guess. Jack Black is funny, but it's just too out there. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like it turns into a comedy with these new characters. And so, yeah, that's really the only problem I have with these movies is that the whole contest hotel thing was just like, how did he pay for all that crap? How did the hotel people not know? How did the people at the airport not know? Like they wonder, like, how do these people get these tickets and all this other crap? Like, Ben Willis can't be rich. He's like a fisherman. Or are fisher people like rich? I don't know. Plus the man's been missing for a whole year. So somebody would be realizing if he tapped into like his savings and stuff. Then there's the whole explanation of Will being his son that just pops out of nowhere. Like, he was never ever mentioned in the first movie and stuff. And he's the same age as Julie and them, so how did they never see him around town? But then again, they never saw Ben around town either. So I can get that up. But if he went to go live with relatives, who did he live with? Because the wife is dead, you know? So that's the only thing that really sucks. That, the characters, and Brandy. That wasn't that spooky. All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.